Fellas, lady fellas, everyone in Real Society, welcome to the Fantasy and Reality Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Taggart. Today in the ridiculous overdecorated studio, we're going to talk about injury reports and waiver wire Wednesday preparation. So, without further ado, I'm going to just go through all the injuries that I have so far, the extent of it, what we know about it. So, first we have Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy. Each exited the game. Williams had a knee injury, McCoy had an ankle injury. They're both questionable for week 3. So that could mean that Darwin Thompson is a go for you. Devin Singletary exited the game with a hamstring injury. So that could mean that Frank Gore, since he saw the work he did this past week, that maybe he could go further and get more of the job, especially if Singletary is either out for a couple weeks or being limited in his carries. James Conner exited the game with an injury, so that could mean good things for Jalen Samuels, not so great things for Conner owners, especially with Big Ben being out, which I'll get to in a bit. David Johnson had a wrist injury, but he came back, so hopefully he might be questionable going into it like everyone is, but he should be good for week 3. So, as you know, Darius Geis is injured, so hopefully AP can get the job done. Chris Thompson to be a guy that you can get to, but like I said, we'll get to that. At the wide receiver position, Michael Gallup injured his knee, and he's having an MRI done, so he finished the game, so it's not that bad seemingly, but you never know. Tre'Quan Smith exited yesterday's game with a leg injury, so he could be questionable for this week. Alshon exited the game with a calf injury. He had no catches, no anything, so he was a big goose egg. So we'll see how he does. If he can come back in the next week and see what he does. We also had Deshaun Jackson leave that same game. A lot of people in that game last night for the Eagles and Falcons just dropping like flies. There were so many guys going in and out. Carson Wentz, his ribs were bothering him. He came in, came out, came in, came out. Josh McCown came in, got him close to the red zone, and then they brought in Wentz again. So who knows what's going on. He might be injured but still want to play, so he might be at risk for re-injury. We'll see if he's full go, if he's halved, if he's questionable, not going to play at all. Who knows. David Moore, Albert Wilson, Trent Taylor. They all got injured, questionable. Sterling Shepard missed this game. Maybe he might miss this upcoming game if he doesn't go through the concussion protocol and get all the check marks that he needs to continue and come back in. And Jalen Hurd, Marquise Lee, they're injured, so you don't have to worry about them. But at the quarterback position, besides Carson Wentz's questionable in and out with the ribs, the 3 main ones, Sam Darnold's still out. He'll be out for another few weeks with mono. Drew Brees tore a ligament in his thumb, so he'll be at 6 weeks approximately. Hopefully it's sooner, but it might be longer. Not good. And then Big Ben has to have surgery on his elbow, and he'll be out for the rest of the season. So a very injury-prone week 2. Week 1 was crazy. We had unforeseen things happen with good players doing bad, bad players doing good, having a weird week. Week 2, injuries everywhere. Everyone was dropping so fast. So hopefully week 3 will be back to normal. I mean, with big players out like that, it's going to be difficult, but if you can get people that are going to be beneficial to your team, then you can bounce back and not have to worry about those injuries as much. They won't be as impactful negatively on your team. So for tight ends, Vernon Davis injured his eye, but he came back into the game, so hopefully he sees 2020 until week 3. Tyler Higbee, after he caught that one pass, kind of landed wrong, might have hurt his chest, so he's questionable, but they're not really effective, the tight end, on the Rams offense, so he's not that valuable in the first place. Hunter Henry's still injured. He'll be out for another few weeks. Jordan Reed, who knows what he's going to do. He could retire or keep going through his concussion protocol. And then Dallas Goedert hurt his calf. He left the game last night, so we'll see if he's going to play and keep being Ertz's backup and getting a few targets every once in a while. Those are a few of the hopefully only injuries that happened in week 2. Hopefully nothing else comes out. about someone tweaking something, injuring something, and being questionable, not practicing, getting sick throughout the week, so we can have, like I said, a healthy, hopefully, week 3 and go back to normal. But with all that said, with all the injuries, a lot of waiver wire guys that you could pick up that had good games in week 2, and some that had both 1 and 2 weeks that were good, that still aren't on teams a lot, not a lot of percentage owned in their names, or guys that hopefully can benefit your team. So I have quite a few guys right here that could benefit your team in some way if you are injured or very skimpy in that one position. Then these guys can hopefully help you get some girth and some depth in that position. So we still have Gardner Minshew. He had a good game, so hopefully he can continue that. He's not a lot owned. Like I said, a lot of these guys aren't very much owned, so I'm sure 80% of these guys, at least, you can go out and get right now. So hopefully they'll be available to help out you and your team. So we also have Josh Allen, did fantastic. Jimmy Garoppolo showed out. Andy Dalton surprisingly came out to play. Matthew Stafford, all these guys had good games. You know, they were well-rounded, and hopefully they can continue that. The next couple guys are the backups that now starters for injured quarterbacks. We have Teddy Bridgewater that hopefully can, I mean, obviously not fill Drew's shoes, but I mean, hopefully he can be a decent enough quarterback and rely on Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara to do things, Taysom Hill, you know, that way lean on him, make him look good, and then Rudolph from the Steelers taking Roethlisberger's place, so hopefully he can continue, because he did well. He threw a lot to Vance McDonald, so hopefully he can continue to do that. Target Juju, maybe those 2 other not so great receivers that you can't quite rely on. But if Rudolph can do well, he could be an asset to your team, especially as a backup quarterback. Some running backs that did fairly great: Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert. For Tevin Coleman, he's going to be out still a few more weeks, so Mostert had a great game. So I'm sure he's not owned in very many leagues, so you can try to go pick him up. He should see a decent amount of production. Frank Gore could see some now that Singletary has a hamstring injury, and we don't know the status of Singletary yet, so Frank Gore saw a decent amount of work, so hopefully he can continue to do that if Singletary were to be out this week. Like I said, Darwin Thompson is going to be valuable because we don't know if Shady and Williams are going to play. So if it's Darwin Thompson's time, he should kill it in that offense and hopefully produce enough for your team. AP and Chris Thompson, mostly Chris Thompson, because if you're in PPR, he should be a guy. I see them, the Redskins, being down a lot in games, so hopefully he can dump it off a lot because the receivers are doing well. So for a team that's not doing that great, the fantasy production is doing okay. So AP, since Geis is out for at least another few weeks, then AP and Thompson could do well enough to be a value. Carlos Hyde had a decent game, and I don't see it happening often, but if you can capitalize on it, use him when he's going to do well, and then maybe trade him off for something later on in the season, then I wouldn't blame you. With James Conner, who is a guy that I didn't talk about much, his knee is injured, so maybe Jalen Samuels can come in and be that guy because he's still a great player. I had high hopes for him and not believing in Conner all that much in this offseason, so hopefully Samuels can prove me right, just like Conner did by getting injured. So maybe Samuels can put the running game back in that spot to propel and do better. Since Big Ben is out, they can lean on the run game a little bit more. Jeff Wilson Jr. also did well, so he's a guy that is being targeted a lot and having a decent amount of production, so he could be a guy that's beneficial for your team. A few other receivers, John Brown had another good game, so hopefully he can keep going. Hollywood Brown had another good game. You know, all these guys are staying consistent now that their quarterback has good, consistent play, so hopefully they can stay that way this season. We have Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. Fantastic. Dude went crazy. So you see how Sammy Watkins did okay, but wasn't that much of a factor. So that's how this offense works sometimes. Like Watkins went off in week 1, and then Robinson week 2. So hopefully Nicole in week 3. You know what I mean? It's not out of the realms of possibility. So we have Chris Conley and DJ Chark, Jags guys that could possibly do well because DD is not doing that great now that Foles is out. So let's see if Minshew can keep it up with these other 2 guys. Terry McLaurin had another great game, still not very owned. So like I said earlier, if Keenum can keep doing what he's doing, the players on that offense are producing well, even though they're not winning games. So hopefully they can keep on going. They'll like I said, they'll be down a lot, I see, in games. So they'll be throwing a lot. So he could be beneficial, especially in deep leagues. Like if you're in like a 14-man league or so and you have him, he could be really good on your team. Another guy I like is Deebo Samuel. He had a fairly good game. Marquise Goodwin had a better game because Dante Pettis is not doing anything. So get rid of Pettis. Try to go for Goodwin maybe, or Deebo Samuel. I like Deebo Samuel a lot more than the other guys because Marquise Goodwin is super ridiculously fast, but he's just not as productive. And as much as it pains me to say, Nelson Aguilar had a good game, so you might want to target him. Alshon had zilch. So Alshon, Djax, Ertz, Wentz, people kind of wishy-washy getting hurt or one thing or another, you know. Ertz did well, but he can't be the only guy they throw to, so Aguilar could be a guy that's beneficial to you because, like I said, I mean, Jaws is not going to be that productive, so, I mean, you could go get him, but Aguilar is the much more targeted guy out of those 2, so he could be the guy that you look for on the waivers. As far as tight ends go, these tight ends are, like I said, not very owned, had decent well-rounded games, so you can get these guys, and they could be a streamer a few weeks. So, because unless you have one of the top few tight ends, you're probably not going to do that great unless you catch a gem like Mark Andrews. Still not owned in a crazy amount of leagues, so you can go get him. Jason Witten had a good week. Vernon Davis, even though he had that eye injury, can still come back and do well. So hopefully he can keep it going. Will Disley had 2 touchdowns, so I mean he appears to be healthy. The guy's back, so hopefully he can continue. He has the Saints next week, so we'll see how that goes. And then Chris Herndon, it still might be a little early because he still has a 4-game suspension. They have a bye week in week 5, so he won't be back till week 6. But I mean, I'd probably get him earlier rather than later because if you wait a week or 2, somebody else might have the same idea and snatch him up right before you can. So, like I said, I'd probably go earlier rather than later. And then the last guy, the super beast, Mr. Noah Fant, had a decent game. You know, saw quite a few targets for a rookie tight end. So if Flacco can keep feeding him, then I think Fant can do fantastic things for your team. Maybe not earlier on, but later in this season, the next few seasons on, I'm thinking this guy's going to be fantastic, just like T.J. Hawkinson. He didn't have a good game this week, but hopefully he can bounce back. And he's also another guy like Mark Andrews. T.J. Hawkinson can do well. He's on a nice offense and not owned in a crazy amount of leagues. So, like I said, he'll have a bounce back game hopefully, even though he didn't do great. Great week 1, not so good week 2. So, hopefully we'll see that week 3 production on the rise. So, those were my waiver wire Wednesday preparation guys that could help your team to propel you to the next level, get you those few more points that you can. If you have injuries or guys aren't producing, just drop them and then pick some of these guys up because they could be beneficial to your team and be on a hot streak for the rest of the season. So tell me who you like in your waiver wire, who you want to drop and get rid of, who you think is doing hot and you'd like to pick up or trade for. So leave any of that down below. We can talk about it. As always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Leave, like I said, all your questions, topic suggestions, comments down there in the comment section below. I'll try to answer anything and all things that you have. Remember that sports is supposed to be enjoyed, so please watch together, tell someone, everything. everything. Tell someone about us. That way we can try to expand the community as much as possible. It's very small right now, so we want to grow our community, give as much information as we can, help as many people out as we can, because we can only help a certain amount of people out if no one knows about us. So the larger we grow, the more we can help out. So in order to do that, you gotta smash that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button so we can keep giving you as much content that can hopefully help you win some leagues and just dominate every league that you're in, no problem. But lastly, we'll leave you with God bless America and God bless fantasy football. Take care.